So, my name is Kelsey Bennett.
And I'm Wade.
I am, we are siblings. We, in case you didn't pick up on that, we're siblings. We live under the same roof, live in the same house.
Right now I'm a senior here at Stoga.
And I am the baby of the family, living in Lord, sophomore year.
We're both Irish twins, so we're born within 18 months of each other.
Yet, we're very different.
Yeah, fundamentally, even though we are so similar.
Yeah.
Now, statistically, siblings are 20% the same.
And that means they're 80% dissimilar.
Now, Kelsey, why are siblings so different?
That's a good question. Well, let's compare ourselves.
So,
Wade likes the color gray.
meanwhile, Kelsey likes the color orange.
Wade likes computers.
Kelsey gets frustrated by computers. Kelsey likes music.
Wade doesn't quite understand music.
And according to BuzzFeed, Kelsey is Olaf.
Well, Wade is Elsa.
So yeah, we're entirely opposites. Well, that brings up a question. Why are we, who are so similar, or why are we who are siblings, who are raised the same way, why are we so different?
Well, there are a couple of theories to kind of answer this question. The first of these theories is called the birth order theory. Now, birth order plays a huge impact on your characteristics and personalities. So, a mother or a father, they treat each child differently, even though they don't want to admit it. As the saying goes, when the first child, the oldest born, eats dirt, the mother calls 911. When the second child eats dirt, the mother cleans out their mouth and sends them back out to play. Now, when the third child eats dirt, the mother will wonder whether the third child will be hungry for dinner.
Now, according to recent studies, the oldest child has a higher chance of being motivated, reliable, trustworthy, and sometimes a little controlling. They tend to be the leaders of the family, they tend to be the perfectionists, and more often than not, this is because they are the first of their siblings to experience life.
Now, the middle children are usually more of the independent, sociable people. They tend to have large friend circles, but they can also be more rebellious. So they're rebellious because they don't have that leading role among the siblings. They're not the oldest or the youngest. So they look to external sources to find their identity.
And meanwhile, the youngest child tends to be the attention-grabbing, fun-loving, free spirit of the family. Often they're uncomplicated, but they can sometimes be a little bit controlling. Now, this is because as the youngest child, they were raised being the one cared for by others, and they prefer this trend to continue.
So, only children, they don't have any siblings, so they fulfill all roles. They are sociable, they are free-spirited, they can be manipulative, but one thing that's kind of recurring among them is that they're mature, but they're also sensitive, and they're sensitive, and they look to their elders and peers as guidance.
Now, of course, keep in mind these are only generalizations from statistics. Just disclaimer.
So, why do siblings fall into different activities? Why do they pursue different passions?
Well, I think we can refer to our friend Darwin. Darwin here.
Charles Darwin?
Yes. In addition to the theory of evolution, Darwin proposed the idea of niches, where organisms living in the same location will specialize into different areas in order to avoid competition between themselves.
So, this applies to families. So children in families unconsciously develop into their own niches.
So, for example, if we have a family that has 3 boys in it, they're all going to try and find their own area to specialize in. So the first boy might go off and take music and play the harp. The second boy, not wanting to conflict with the first brother, might become a runner, play track. And the third and final child will go off and find his own specialty. That might be chemistry or some academic studies.
Now, within these fields, people, like a lot of times older siblings will go into one field and their younger children will follow, or their younger siblings will follow. So let's say academics. We have a family of these 3 boys. One of them is a literature nerd, one of them is a math science lover, and another one is a history buff. They all have to find their own places in life.
Just as we all follow our own paths, since we don't have to follow what our siblings do or have done, we can go off and find our own spotlight where we can shine on our own. Now, we as humans are defined by our experiences. What we've done in the past makes us who we are. So it makes sense then that people who have had different experiences would therefore be different people.
Children who experience different things at different ages turn out differently.
So if a family grows up and moves or experiences a divorce or suffers a loss, all these things will occur when the children are different ages, and they might not have even been born yet. Even the smallest things can affect siblings. So, even the smallest things can affect siblings.
So our next theory is called the exaggeration theory.
Among siblings, the tiniest of differences are often embraced to help distinguish one sibling from another.
Now, parents give their children different titles. So,
For example, I was always been told that I'm a good engineer.
and I've always been supported as the athlete of the family.
And nowadays, I do far too much engineering.
And I'm a little bit too obsessed with running.
And in the case of these boys behind us, we have the one all-star of the soccer team who's leading the team. Then we have the other boy who's more of a defender, if you will.
I mean, I'm sure you guys are like relating to one of these people, and you can see like why parents would call, or not call, like they'll kind of give their children different things. So children grow up with these labels and kind of accept them and evolve with them.
Now, in the case of twins, this exaggeration is even more necessary because since twins are so similar, you need to distinguish them from in every little way possible. So all of these slight differences are exaggerated then.
So I'm sure you guys know these twins from Harry Potter, Fred and George, beloved.
Between twins, because these differences are what define them, they can then go on to be what shape an individual character. As youths, they spend far too much time together, twins, at least that's my general observation. All the twins that I know often attend the same classes, do the same sports, and they spend so much time together that their personalities tend to reflect each other. But as they begin to grow up, they tend to diverge and take different paths. And as they diverge, they tend to change into different people, just like how Ron and Georgia, no, Fred and George, obviously.
Unbelievable. You're the one who read the entire Harry Potter series.
You're the one who made that mistake when we were practicing.
All right.
But during the movies, they look basically the same, but as they begin to grow up, they change into their own people.
And this applies to all twins. As twins, like they spend so much time together, just kind of summarize what Wade said. They spend their whole lives together, sharing like the same bedroom perhaps. And once they leave their home, they separate and they have their own experiences and they differentiate between them.
Now we're going to look at the other end of the spectrum with only children.
So, only children don't have siblings.
That is true, and it sounds wonderful. I wish I was one of them.
Just kidding. He loves me.
Sure.
And because of this, they look to their elders and their peers as kind of guidance, and they grow up with these people leading them rather than having siblings.
So now we're going to broaden our scope back up to this big general question, siblings as a whole.
Can I ask the question?
Kelsey.
Please.
Kelsey. I'm better at that, Kelsey. I understand the question.
Okay, so the question.
Kelsey.
Why do siblings argue?
Well, why do siblings argue? Because siblings are the only people who you're going to spend your entire lives with. And because of that, people expect you to have a deeper level of connection with them.
People expect us to be like the same person. We're not. Gonna be real. We're just two people living in the same house together.
And because of this discontinuity, siblings clash over their differences.
They're not the same. So that's why we argue. We don't fulfill people's expectations. We are different, and people tend to think that siblings are the same. Different people, like different ideas, tend to clash.
So I hope that now you have a deeper understanding of that fundamental role in our society that is the sibling.
And I hope you guys walk away valuing your similarities with your siblings, but also understanding the differences between you and your siblings, and understanding you don't have to follow in your siblings' roles.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Yeah?
So a little observation I made is that siblings that, with twins, I've seen that with athletics, that they tend to compete against each other and they do better to the closer in age. So like on both teams, on both soccer teams at one states, there was a pair of twins on the team. So they tend to be the stars, like the Gonzalez brothers, if you've heard of them. So they have someone to compete against, so they become better because of that.
Yeah, just like the niche theory, the two of them are occupying the same niche,
Yeah.
so they have to compete with each other to try and find whoever's superior. So because they practice more and they're fighting against each other, they get more practice out of it.
Yeah?
When was that picture taken?
That is my first day of kindergarten.
I was in preschool and wanted to go with him. My mom said no.
Any other questions? Yeah?
That's a birthday theory. What happens when you're the oldest in the family, like to identify yourself in the same characters as the youngest, where you're more rebellious?
Well, I mean, if you're the oldest, you can have characteristics of like the youngest and middle children. Like there's nothing stopping you. And I mean, a lot of times like in families, if siblings are really different in age, then perhaps like the older child is like 5 or 6 years older than the younger children. I'm not saying this is your case, but that child might identify as an only child because they're so distant from their own siblings.
Since how people were defined by their experiences, generalizing, the older child tends to have similar sets of experiences. The older child, in your case, might not have had the same experiences, and that could be why they changed to have their own characteristics.
You guys fight a lot?
We have
That depends.
some squabbles. Depends on the
That
day.
depends.
Yannick? Just the two of
Just
us.
the two of us. We have a dog. He counts.
What kind of dog?
A good dog.
How do you account for similar mannerisms in between siblings? Do you think it's just a matter of proximity, or do you think that siblings actually have similar characteristics?
Well, this kind of relates to the twins. Like, they're so similar that spending their whole days together, so they pick up on each other's traits. So siblings who live in the same house often pick up on each other's traits, just as with their parents. So that kind of causes like the similar like mannerisms.
It's often said how people who are married, as they get older, they tend to look more and more alike, and that's because as they spend time with each other, they adopt each other's mannerisms. So because the two of us live together and spend all of our time together pretty much, we tend to pick up on each other's tendencies.
Did you just compare siblings to married couples?
I did. I did that earlier when we were brainstorming this as well. Remember?
I remember. It was weird then too. Anyone else?
All right, thank you.